Hi everyone, this is Jackie Ray, your librarian here at Blue Mountain Community College, and this is yet another one of tutorials in our quick series on a little snapshot into our library databases and then how you would embed that content into your Canvas course. So there's videos on streaming media databases, opposing viewpoints. This one is covering academic OneFile, and then there is another one on our EBSCO databases. So we will start, as always, scrolling ahead, we'll start as always, college homepage. You'll click on library, and that gets you to the screen. We will scroll down to library databases and top library databases, and we will spend our time here in academic OneFile. If you already watched the opposing viewpoints tutorial, this is really similar. It's the same company who produces it. So what is primarily different here is the content within this database. This is what would be considered more of an academic or research database. This is where greater access to those academics, those scholarly journals. The content is much more robust. It really kind of also demands different search techniques from our students. There's some exploratory features here. As you can see, you can browse by discipline. There's a really fun topic finder thing, which I'll show you. But this is really where students are kind of, sometimes they say you're designing you're using, I guess the old-fashioned term is Boolean searching, right? So if you're old, like me, you know that you're doing your and or not searching, even the old Venn diagram. For students, I often say this is usually where often you have a what and a so what. You have those two concepts you're putting together. You don't need to necessarily, for example, I don't know, a real popular topic is, say, I don't know, childhood obesity. You could, type this in, you could type in children and obesity. I usually tell students this. You could also maybe focus even on an age group at this point, adolescents and obesity, teenagers and obesity, and that sort of thing. But we can just start out with childhood obesity. There's these little prompts, that you can use or not use. This is where students, you might want to have them think, if they have that what in mind, say their what in mind is childhood obesity and schools, for example. Are schools doing enough? You could the larger topic, of course, there is prevention, but schools might be a more specific one. Or if students want to, you can just hit search at this point. And I guess we can go ahead and do that. Why not? The default in here is our academic journals, so scholarly journals, as not necessarily peer-reviewed. You can limit to peer-reviewed journals. You might want to spend some time, if it's worth it to you, in your class, or I can always come to your class, explaining the difference between scholarly and peer-reviewed. That can be very confusing for students. So academic journals is the default, but there's also access to that magazine content level, books, news, images. So I don't necessarily limit at this point. I like to really explain what these are to students and have them kind of be self-aware of, like, well, maybe this academic journal, this is too difficult for me to read at this point. Maybe I need to step back and look at magazines to, have something more accessible. Within here, this is 16,000 results. That's huge. Really quickly, there's some filters that I like to highlight. One is you can search within results right away. So if we did want to go ahead and say, okay, let's look at schools, that would narrow us down pretty significantly. If we'd even done elementary schools, of course, that would be different. If we'd done, different types of environments like that. That shows up here. If you ever want to take it out, you can just X that out. You're back to your original search. Because other filters include by date, so the past month, year. If you want to focus on the last 4 years, 5 years, you can certainly do that, just with this little calendar box right here. And I'd like to point that out to students. You can also limit by subject. So if the thought is really looking at childhood obesity, and you can see there's both physical fitness and exercise, you could do that. So it's, elementary school students, well, that's easy. That takes us down to those 525. So that can be incredibly helpful. And again, you can always X out of there to narrow that. Let me point out a couple more filters, and then we'll get into an article. So the other thing you can do is that topic finder, which I mentioned. You can't get into Lexile scores, but that's kind of tricky. The only time I've ever used Lexile scores is with English second language learners in an assignment, but totally up to you. It's there. A lot of people love this topic finder thing. What comes up is these tiles. I don't really care for the tiles. I personally prefer the wheel. You can also change your search terms right here. Let's click on this wheel. Everybody actually I've ever worked with prefers the wheel to the tiles. Because what's in the heart here is our basic search, that childhood obesity. But if you really wanted, again, to look at prevention, well, you could click here and more broadly look at prevention. It kind of scopes it down to like the top 28 articles that have been identified. Pretty cool. Right here. If you want to look at childhood obesity prevention and, you know, say parenting as opposed to schools, that takes you to the top 5 articles on that subject. So students, you can see, really love that. If you want to look more at adolescents, again, you could do that same kind of feature. And if none of these really work, you can start all over again with your search right here. So this is one way in to articles, and I'll just click here. This is what they would look like too if we had not used the topic finder. If we click on any title link, like from that first long list, this is what they look like. So again, you can download the PDF if you want to, you know, create a repository of resources for students like that. When you link them to the PDF, it can be a little bit more tricky, but that's certainly something you can do. You can download the PDF, upload the PDF into your Canvas files page, and link to it. That way, that starts running into a little bit of fair use of handing it out. But again, just like the opposing viewpoints database, bookmark, there you are. It should work just fine. PDFs definitely work, but this should work just fine to get you to the URL. And again, just like opposing viewpoints, the citation tools are right here. Here's MLA, here's APA, Chicago. You know, that's really the only 3 they offer. And I haven't seen, actually I have not seen them. Thinking back to my many years working in community colleges, I have not seen any other of those 3 used at the community college level. Same features as sending to your Google Drive, you know, really other fantastic tools. Related resources are okay. You know, I haven't found them perfect. What that does is I've just been jumped down to the entire bottom of the article. And, you know, they're okay. I haven't found them necessarily the best match of related resources, but it can be really helpful for students in taking a look at these particular issues. So run back up to the top of the page. So I'm just hitting our back to topic finder if we want to go back there. But again, we can also just go back and straight to starting our searches over again with an advanced search up here, here. It gives you lots of choices for how you might want to reconstruct your search. So but that's not seeming to work for me here. So, oh, okay, it's just slow. And I'm impatient. But this is just another tool that has the filters here, but a little bit differently. Full text is, I have that default checked in the database. So your students should always have access to the full text. But again, you can limit by type. This document type can be really helpful. You can also, because if you wanted to exclude book reviews, for example, you're in this great scholarly resource and you're like, I keep getting book reviews. Well, you can exclude book reviews, for example. And because students will use them, they get excited, and you're like, oh wait, that is actually not a scholarly article. And that sort of thing if you wanted to eliminate anything else. But you can also see what you can focus on. If you wanted just business case studies, you could look just exclusively for those. So it's pretty cool. Oh, and I think, oh, it did remember my search. Oh, no, actually it didn't. It just did a random search of everything. That I would have to go back up here to filter that. So again, I think it hopefully makes sense. You know, it's really just grabbing that bookmark tool. I guess we'll go ahead and look at Richard Nixon here. Bookmark. Here's our URL. So we'll just copy that. Copy this guy here. And see. Go back to our Canvas page, which I have right here. And then again, you can just link. You can type in your title first, actually, if you wanted to. So let's see, this is what Richard Nixon, yada, yada, yada. I forget what the title was. Highlight that, material, right click and paste, and there we go. You know, if you wanted to put the whole proper citation in here, and you could certainly do that, and then hyperlink by citation would actually be really nice. That might be something you might want to do, is use that citation tool and save those citations so you have the proper citation. Totally up to you, but have the proper citations, and then hyperlink that way as well. So that's kind of nice. It gives you students an example of citation. You're using citations properly, and it's pretty easy to do. So yeah, in a nutshell, it's just, it's searching and finding things. And really that's where, if you need help searching and finding things, please do not hesitate to call me. Everyone struggles with searching and finding. And I think it's partly just having someone to talk to about it is really one of the best things I can help you with. And I've helped folks at all levels from other work. I mean, even people who've been doing research for years, they just come in and say, I'm working on a new article for this. Can you help me? So yeah, don't hesitate at any time to help. I can help you find things for your course, for your own research. So, all right. In a nutshell, that's how to use the academic OneFile and how to then link to your courses. So, thanks. Happy researching.